Hey everyone, so today I want to talk about federal student loans. There are two things going on right now as it relates to student loans. Number one, payments on federal student loans and interest accrual on those loans have been put on pause until September of 2021. This is the forbearance talk that you've probably heard about. And then number two, there has been talk about loan forgiveness of $10,000. Now this has not been approved yet, but that's kind of the number going around. So what does this mean for you? Well, like I say in almost every episode, the best strategy for you really depends on your personal financial situation. Like with health, there is no one-size-fits-all recommendation, but here are some things that you may want to consider if you have federal student loans. So when might it make sense for you to continue paying down on your student loans? Well, number one, if you have loans over $10,000 in federal student loans. Anything could change, but as of right now, it does not appear that the forgiveness amount will exceed $10,000 per person. So if you have over $10,000 in federal student loans, it's likely that you will be on the hook for that, or for the amount over $10,000 at least. So if you want to get ahead on that amount over $10,000, you could continue paying that down now when interest is no longer accruing. So 100% of your payments will go towards paying down principal and not interest. Number two, if you have private loans, all this talk of loan forgiveness and forbearance only applies to federal student loans. So if you have private student loans, you will be responsible for the entire balance plus accrued interest, unless your lender has told you otherwise. So you should continue paying down private student loans on schedule, regardless of what happens with federal student loans. And then number three, if you're losing sleep at the thought of having debt, remember money is more than just numbers. Personal temperament, behavior, mental health, all these things play a factor in making money decisions. So if the thought of having even just $4,000 in federal student loans outstanding over the next several months, if that's a major stressor for you, it may make sense to continue paying that off, even with the possibility that it might be forgiven soon. But that really depends on your personality and really how much outstanding debt affects your mental well-being. All right, now when might it make sense for you to stop paying down student loans? Well, number one, if you have under $10,000 in federal student loans. If you're someone that only has, say, $5,000 in federal student loans, and the concept of waiting for that to be forgiven doesn't cause emotional turmoil, it may be worth just waiting to see what happens. At this point, it's not accumulating interest and monthly payments are on pause, so there's really no harm in just waiting around to see if it gets forgiven. Number two, if you have other debt outstanding. If federal student loans aren't the only debt you have, then now would be a prime opportunity to pay down other debt. You can take what you would have otherwise contributed towards student loan debt and instead put that towards debt that is still accumulating interest, like an auto loan or even your mortgage. The faster you pay down that debt, the less interest that you're going to have to pay over the life of the loan. Number three, if you don't have an emergency fund. So if you have no cash in reserves for emergencies, now would be a great time to change that. If 2020 has taught us anything, it's that we must expect and prepare for the unexpected. This is why it's recommended that you have at least 3 to 6 months of cash for minimum living expenses, and why it's such a high priority when it comes to financial health. So if you don't have that saved right now, perhaps consider using this break from federal student loans as a way to start building that emergency fund back up. And then number four, you simply have other saving goals. So perhaps you don't have any other debt outstanding, your federal student loans are under $10,000, and you have an adequate emergency fund. If this is you, it might be a great chance to start saving up for some other saving goals, like accumulating enough for a down payment on a home, starting a side hustle, or maybe even just investing in the stock market. Regardless of the goal, this could be an opportunity to explore some of those avenues while there's really no pressure to pay down outstanding federal student loans anytime soon. As I said before, what decision is best for you really depends on your unique situation and the combination of all those factors that I mentioned above. But I do hope that this gives you some things to think about. Thanks for watching. Have a great week.